What's up, moviegoers? Welcome to the Marchio podcast. I'm your host, Anthony. In this episode, I will be talking about the 1988 horror film, Child's Play. Now, Child's Play is the first film in the Child's Play series and the first installment to feature the character of Chucky. The character of Chucky is played by and voiced by Brad Dourif, and the alternate name to the character is Charles Lee Ray. And the movie is directed by Tom Holland, with a screenplay by Don Mancini. The story is by Don Mancini, the creator of the Child's Play and Chucky franchise. And the movie stars Catherine Hicks and Chris Sarandon. Now, the movie tells a story about a widowed mother who gives a doll to her son, who evidently is unaware that the doll is possessed by the soul of a serial killer. Now, the movie came out in November of 1988. The runtime is 87 minutes. The budget for the movie was $9 million, and it grossed $44 million at the box office. So basically, the movie starts out with a cop going after a serial killer, Charles Lee Ray, and somehow during a Haitian voodoo spell, he transfers his soul into one of what they call the good guy dolls. Now, while this happens, the store that the shootout happens in is struck by lightning, and after that, the following day, the mother buys her son this toy, which calls itself Chucky. She buys it from a homeless peddler as a birthday gift for her 6-year-old son, Andy Barkley. And Andy Barkley is played by a young Alex Vincent. Now, over the course of this movie, we find out that certain things are happening in the apartment that they live in, and they are blaming that Andy's the one doing it all by making all these noises, and, in the background you see a little figure running around. But then you realize that it's Chucky. The first killing that he does, it's gruesome, it's crazy, it's unexpected, so to speak. And as the movie goes on, Chucky becomes more human because his soul is so trapped in this doll that the doll is becoming to look more human. There are scenes in this movie that are frightening, that are creepy. And the reason they're frightening and creepy is because you actually can tell that it's someone playing Chucky in the role. They probably picked an actor who was in short stature at the time. And you can tell by one scene where Chucky has a knife in his hand and the body is burnt to a crisp. And he's walking toward Andy, and it's just creepy. And definitely the outer shots and the faraway shots were definitely someone in the suit, and the close-up shots were definitely animatronic. And as the character of Chucky is becoming more human, his mannerisms change. He's starting to understand things, he's starting to feel things. He does go back to his friend who taught him the Haitian voodoo spell, and in order to get rid of the spell, the Haitian voodoo guy tells him that in order to, get your soul out of the body, you have to transfer the soul into the first person you revealed yourself to, saying that you are who you were. And Chucky says, "That's an 8-year-old boy. I'm going to be 8 years old again." And he laughs. And let me just say that Brad Dourif as an actor is fantastic. He really brings this role to life. The good thing about this role is that we saw him in human form in the beginning of the movie, maybe for about 15 minutes. But then after that, he was mostly a voiceover for the role of Chucky. Now, this movie creeped me out when I was a kid. It did come out in November of 1988, and I was only 1 year old. But I really didn't get to see it until the late 90s. I want to say like 1992 to 1991. One night, I was checking it out. I was like, all right, what's this? It's dolls. All right, let's check it out. From then on, dolls creep me out. So I have a fear of dolls, but it's not so these kind of dolls. Now, when I was younger, I had a doll called the My Buddy doll. Now, if you don't know what the My Buddy doll is, it's one of the, big toys of the 80s. My mother got it for me for Christmas when I was younger, and once this movie came out, I didn't go near that thing at all. I used to take the thing everywhere with me, stores and, friends' houses, and then once this came out, I didn't want to do anything with it. Don Mancini himself says that this wasn't based off of the My Buddy doll, and he says that it's based off of the Cabbage Patch Kids. I actually think that's a lie. It's definitely based off the My Buddy dolls, and director Tom Holland has stated and affirmed that the My Buddy dolls played a role in Chucky's design. Of course you're going to say that. I mean, what the hell? I mean, in the original script, it was called Blood Buddy, and, you know, you name it My Buddy. What are you doing? Why are you terrifying kids? So, you know, the kids, you know, got afraid of it and, you know, sued. Parents, you know, did sue the company, saying that, you know, my child is, you know, scared of dolls now because of this movie, this and that. It's interesting. It's an interesting movie. It's an interesting concept. It's different. It's original. But then yet it did feature 6 more sequels. Yeah, I don't even know either. Like, how do you do 6 more sequels? It's crazy. Now, the interesting thing about this movie is that the visual effects was basically different ways and various ways to portray Chucky, including radio-controlled animatronics, operated by 9 puppeteers, and extras of short stature and child actors were hired for certain, you know, roles and shots, like I talked about in the beginning of this podcast. Now, the movie did receive bad and negative reviews and press at a test screening. Basically, they wanted to reduce the time that Chucky had on screen and to keep his character and role a secret. There's a scene where the officer, played by Chris Sarandon, is involved in a car accident. And during that time, Chucky is, you know, teasing him around the car that's flipped over on its roof. And as Chucky's, you know, walking around, you see this little doll, and it's just all of a sudden, like, the doll just, you know, attacks Chris Sarandon's character, and it's just creepy, and it just goes away. So basically, this whole time, the concept of the movie is that Chucky needs to get his soul out of the doll and into Andy. And let me just say that when Chucky reveals himself to the mother, that's when, you know, things start happening. That's when everything escalates. The third act begins, because the mother didn't believe her son was doing all this stuff, but then all of a sudden you realize, you, the viewer, are trying to figure out and tell her that, listen, this thing's alive. What are you doing? Like I said, the movie's creepy, and, you know, it's not called Chucky's Play, it's Child's Play. And when the movie's called Child's Play, and you feature a serial killer doll, you know, anything can happen. But it was a time of the 1980s where horror movies were big, and horror movies were just, you know, still finding their footing in the Hollywood industry, and it met its peak, and, you know, Child's Play started a genre of interesting things, and especially dolls in horror movies. I don't know how they did it, but it worked. And for director Tom Holland and creator and screenwriter Don Mancini for it to come up with something like this was really interesting, was really unique, and it was very different. Of course, people were scared when they went to go see this because they didn't know what the doll would look like. They just saw it as, you know, this little toy doll, but then when it came to life, all the shit just changed in the movie, you know. People were scared shitless. Even little kids, you know. I'm pretty sure a lot of parents took their kids to go see this and thinking it was a doll movie. Well, you got a wake-up call, you know? So let me know in the comment section below what you think of Child's Play, and if you think this movie was original for its idea, and if you think that, you know, it was more scary knowing that actors of short stature and child actors were hired to play the role of Chucky in certain scenes, especially faraway scenes and, you know, certain close-up scenes. Let me know in the comment section below. I'm really curious to know what you think. And be sure you stay tuned to the next episode of the Marchio podcast, where I talk about Child's Play 2. And be sure you click that subscribe button and hit that notification bell for new videos and new podcast episodes on the Marchio Productions YouTube page. And follow Marchio Productions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And follow me, Anthony, your host, on Instagram and Twitter at misterfilmstock. And follow the Marchio podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll leave a link to all the social media accounts in the description box below. You can check it out and follow along. All right, everyone, that does it for today's episode. I'm your host, Anthony. Thanks for tuning in.
Andy, no, please. We're friends to the end, remember?
This is the end, friends.